Hi guys, thanks for joining me in my studio today. Hope you're having a great day. I've literally just put the last brush full on this painting of a place called Friargate in Derby. Had a lot of fun doing this. It's a real fast and loose painting. Took me a couple of hours. So I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. I thought I would begin just discussing the palette I'm using really. There's nothing too unusual about this other than that I am actually using a secondary colour, sap green in there. We've got raw sienna, burnt sienna and burnt umber. They're all earth pigments, sort of reds and yellows, and then we've got some blues and reds. But I do struggle with mixing greens, so I thought I'd give sap green a try. First time I've used it, absolutely love it. It worked brilliantly for me, and I'm using liquid to thin the paints to a workable consistency, and I'm using artist quality paints for this one. Using artist quality makes such a difference. The first real thick brushful I put on was so vibrant and the colours just popped. I knew this was going to work. So if you want to make a note of those colours I'm using, just freeze the screen and copy them down, and I'm going to continue with the painting. So I'm going to begin with a drawing, but I'm going to use paint to do the sketch with, and I'm using phthalo blue and the sap green mixed together to give me this really nice dark colour. I'm not going to tint the canvas. I'm going straight on white because I want the brightness of the canvas to shine through these translucent colours that I'm using, like raw sienna and the phthalo turquoise and so on. They just you sort of thin them down with the liquid and then push them over the canvas, and they just look so luminous. It's really, really exciting. That's all I can say. So that's why I've not tinted the canvas with this one. And you can see I'm taking time looking at the original painting, because obviously this is a remastering of a digital painting I did. I'm just going to speed it up a little bit now so the drawing gets done a little bit faster. There we go. So original painting done about 6 months ago, digital painting. Probably painted it in Procreate. I'm not too sure. I'll put a link in the description for the link for this video on my other channel, Steve Elliott Art. It's all about digital painting, and you can see how I painted the original. So I'm using that solely as a reference for this painting. I couldn't find the original photograph I took, so I'm just working with the painting, but it was fine. It gave me plenty of detail, and it was like using a thumbnail sketch really. I've got it at the side of me on my iPad at eye level with the painting, so it's really easy to see. So I'm using sap green again, mixed with a bit of ultramarine blue and the turquoise, I can never remember the name of it, the phthalo turquoise, a bit of quinacridone magenta as well. Real weird sounding naming colours. I mixed up 3 colours on my palette for this. A lighter green, they're all really dark greens, to be honest. I've started, as you can see, I've started with the darkest colours. And can you see as I push it round, it doesn't come across so well on the video, but they really do pop, and the translucency of the colours just looks so exciting. This is a painted in one sitting, so I'm not going to go back into it at all. It's all done in one go, not a lot of over painting. I did want to put some highlights on the tree once I got the darks in, but the old painting is really worked from dark through to light. So I started with all the darkest colours. I went over the old painting, putting in all the shadows, all the darks, quite foreign to me, this is, because traditionally I'm a watercolour painter. I've done way more watercolours than oils, so it feels very natural for me to start with the lightest and work to the darkest. But today I wanted to start with the darks and leave the lights, and then put the highlights in. And I'm so glad I did, because I got really nice, sharp, vibrant light colours, because I left space for them, and I was just sort of painting over the white areas. I really loved the way I went about the buildings, and just sort of put this thick paint on. And you notice I'm putting like blues in there, but I'm not putting it right next to the browns. I'm leaving a little bit of gap, and then filling them in with smaller brushfuls of colour, and then it stops the colours getting muddy. That worked really well for me. I really feel as though that this is the style that I like painting in. It's very similar to my digital way of painting on the iPad or on the PC, and it's coming together really nicely with the oil paints, because when I painted before, I was a very different type of painter than I've developed over the last couple of years digitally. I've probably said this before, where I sort of developed a style, and that style is transferring very nicely. Now I'm getting back into traditional painting again. See, I'm just popping in a sort of a grey-green in for the distant trees, and then also putting a few gaps between the branches in that foreground tree there. I love the way that with the thick paints, you don't have to worry too much about detail if you don't want to. You can go in and just make an impression of it. And this was, I have to say, the most enjoyable painting I've done since I've got back into it. I felt really confident starting this one. Every brushful went on exactly where I wanted it to go, and it just worked. I didn't feel pressurized. I didn't get any muddy colours or anything. Everything just worked so nice. So I put a little bit of a dark colour on that sort of middle distant building, which was a little bit too dark, so I lined it up again. That's a bit of burnt sienna and some white, titanium white mixed in with that. Now you can see I'm using the same colour in the road in the foreground, and that just helps tie all of those colours together and creates an harmony within the painting. Similar with the bus, I'm using very similar colours to what I've used previously. Working in the car, I put in quite dark, and it took me a little while. I had to overpaint it a few times to get it just how I wanted it. I didn't have to look exactly like a car, but there I just felt it looked a little bit noddy-like at this point, and also not quite big enough for the people that could see way over the top of it, and I felt it just felt a little bit small. So I sort of I work on that and make that a little bit. There you see, I'm just sort of making it go a little bit taller. Well, I say taller, bigger really, I mean, not necessarily taller. So I spent a little time on the car, just getting that how I wanted it. It's not finished yet. I keep coming back to it, and then I go back into that foreground again. And you can see how all I'm doing is sort of changing the colours and filling in the white space. Sort of creating this dappled light effect across the road that the trees were making. I said in the original video of the digital painting that I'd been meaning to paint this for many years and never got round to it. And eventually I'd bought myself a new camera. I'd got a Panasonic G9 and I was walking around town just snapping things to take, and I was walking along Friargate and took this photo. I thought, yes, I'm going to have to paint this. It's something I really want to do, and I'm glad I took the photo because digitally it worked, and I felt it worked with these oils as well. Really, really nice. It's not a massive painting, this one. It's about, I would say, looking at it now, because I haven't measured it, 14 inch by 14 inch. So it's the smallest one I've done so far, but very manageable. I said right at the beginning that I had got Payne's Grey on my palette, and I did, but I never actually used that Payne's Grey at all. You can see we've got some really dark colours in this painting, almost bordering on black. I didn't use black, obviously, and all the dark colours I mixed myself, and I felt I got, if you look deep into those dark colours, you could see greens, purples, blues, and there was so much variety, and I mixed them myself, obviously, and the colour that really, first of all, when I mixed them together, I was blown away, was the sap green and the quinacridone magenta. That made a really, really nice dark colour, almost black in itself. And then I could tint that with adding either the phthalo turquoise or the ultramarine blue, and or the burnt sienna, just to tweak it and get different shades of really, really dark colour. So I would recommend that combination to anybody. I've just slowed the video down now because we're going into sort of looking at putting in the details. So I've sort of finished the initial painting, and I'm just going to go into it now and go over. Well, I'm just sort of finishing off the initial bit because that chimney stack's about the last bit I have to paint, and then I'm going to start going over it and just tweaking things and adding little bits of detail here and there. So as you can see, I'm beginning with the chimney stacks. Got a small hog air brush. I bought a couple of sables actually at the weekend. The last painting I did, I was using the only sable brush I'd got was a sign writing pure sable brush, but which did the job, but wasn't really. I wanted a finer brush. So when I say I bought sables, I didn't actually buy sables. I bought nylon brushes, synthetic fibres, and they look like watercolour brushes in as much that they're pointed, and they've just got that sort of shape of a watercolour brush, but they're really great for doing the fine detail. And you'll see me in a minute or two pick up a mole stick. I'm just mixing up some colour there right now. I pick up a mole stick to start putting in all of the real fine detail. You can see I'm just sort of putting in a little bit of a highlight on that bust there. So I did a lot of standing back of this painting. It's difficult to stand back too far because I've got cameras in the way and lights with cables everywhere, and it's all a little bit of a trip hazard if I'm not too careful. But I like to stand back. Every half a dozen brush strokes I put on, I stand back and have a look at what I'm doing. So here we are. I'm speeded it up again. Just wanted to show you a little bit of the detail going in and the sort of speed I work at. Having said that, it really was a fast painting. There we are. I'm using the mole stick and that fine artist brush there. I'm amazed I've managed to keep out of the way of the camera, so you can actually see the. I'm nearly. Having said that, I nearly blocked it. Then that would have been dire. So I'm working on that car again, and I am using the mole stick and that fine artist brush, and then I decide to work on the bus a little bit more. Mixing up some more colour, I'm guessing there. And we're back into real time again, because now I'm sort of over painting that tree and just putting some highlights in it really. So I'm taking the hog air flat brush, and you can see I mixed up about 3 different colours just to sort of put in the shape of the tree and the way the tree grows and the way the bark sort of wraps round the trunk as it's going up. I kind of tried to emulate that going up the tree, and then I'm into putting in a few more leaves, just dotting them on there. And I'm just looking at the old painting all the while and adding little bits of detail here and there. There you can see I just put some dark shadows in the tree, although I mean it's pretty dark anyway. I then kind of put some dark colour on the buildings and didn't like it, so I echoed the purple that I just used in the tree on the buildings, and I felt that gave a really nice balance. I get it signed here, so I must be thinking it's finished, and then I look at it and think, oh my god, I've missed out the most important traffic lights, controls the traffic. And then you see I just put in one tiny little dot of cadmium red on that traffic light, and then just go back into that car again, put a little highlight on the back window, beef up the people a bit, a few more details, and there we are. That's finished. My painting of Friargate in Derby in oils. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, a big thumbs up as always is much appreciated. If you're new to the channel, and you probably are, please consider subscribing and clicking that bell icon so you get notified of every new video I release, because I'm trying to do 1 a week on this channel and I do 3 a week on the digital painting channel. So hopefully I will see you all again. Bye.